For a new park, Fustastica is certainly expanding rapidly, maybe quicker than anyone may have thought, and this is starting to raise some questions. Where's all the money coming from? Is it through sustainable money management? Are they taking on unsustainable debt? Or is there a third-party influence here? The latest edition is certainly making tongues wag because this is the second major spend in a row, but don't worry. The Mafia aren't in control. The log flume was discounted because it was a prototype model, and this season's edition has been paid for by an investor who wants to see the park succeed because I'm sure they don't have some kind of vested interest in their own business succeeding for as long as the park does. Oh yes, it is time to take a peek behind the construction fences and take a look at my Woodie. I'm not even going there, guys. Just get your minds out of the gutter. We do this every single time. Dad jokes for the win. No, seriously, we've got ourselves a wooden coaster. So the park would have gone through a pretty decent season, having added this last year. There's money rolling in, but they now need to be a little bit careful. This is their strategic addition. This is the one where they're going, okay, we can put something big in, but the next couple of additions need to be slightly smaller, and that's why we're sort of at the perimeter of the whole park, and we'll talk about that later. Anyway, so this is what we've got, and just to show you what I've been thinking of, I've actually had two layouts. There was a third layout, but the third layout was absolute trash. So I have gone for GCI. This is the one that I have settled on. You've got the station, comes into the lift hill, comes into the turnaround, and then it just sort of like meanders its way around. I want this to be below ground level so I can put a tunnel in, and I don't know if I'm going to change the terrain and stuff yet. Possibly, maybe not. I'll see what happens. But then it comes around this way and then into the final brake run. It's a real simple affair. This is the rejected layout. This was my first layout. I rejected it because it did a lot of right-hand turns. It was a very right-hand turny coaster. But I mean, the layout is very similar. Station into the lift hill, it's into the same drop. I think the drop is, yeah, no, it's actually the same angle as well. So into the same drop, into the pretty much the same turnaround, but from there on in, it did like other bits. So I mean, I'm not going to reject this completely. I'm not going to delete it. I'll leave it in the park in case you guys want to save it as a blueprint and use it yourself. I mean, as a layout, it's completely functional, but it's not appropriate for this park. We're not building in this field, by the way. As you can see, we are right up against the perimeter of the actual park. I don't want to go into this field just yet. I actually want to develop the rest of the park and use the space that we've got before expanding, because I don't want this to be a sprawling park. So let's talk about what we're doing then. This is very familiar to Valkyria, I don't know how to say it. Liseberg's dive coaster, right? I love how it's raised up, and I love that whole plateau area. And of course, Viking longhouses all look the same, regardless to what you do. So my intention is not to copy Valkyria. That's how I'm going to say it. Let's just be honest. That's just how it's going to be. I'm not going to directly copy Valkyria, but I like the idea of having the raised bit, and I like the idea of having the Viking longhouse. So I think we're going to end up with something similar, but it's not my intention to copy it. The reason being, I wanted there to be this split level here where I have some shops underneath and then the photo unit at the top here. And I also wanted to utilise more foliage and that sort of landscaping element. And I loved the idea of it being raised up in like a plateau area here with the queue line and stuff. So, like, I'm taking cues, right? And that's the case. I mean, this isn't new to the channel, but I just want you to know that in this instance I'm not intentionally copying. So elsewhere, let me talk to you about what I am thinking. I'm gonna need to get my terrain out. So I'm thinking that we're gonna need a path, right? Let me just reduce the size a little bit down here. And I think this path needs to come around this way, and it needs to come through here so it can then meet up to this point here. Now, I am future-proofing this whole attraction because I know that we are going to go into this field eventually, and we are going to need to have this little step access down here, right? So this is basically going to be a plaza area. I don't know what's going to go in. There'll be decorating and stuff that will go on, but haven't quite worked that out. So yeah, there's going to be a pathway down here, and that's because in the future updates, well, in fact, it's going to be next week, I'm going to be developing this area, and I kind of know what I want to put in this area because this would be their low budget year, right? So next week is going to be a low budget edition, but it's still going to be a fairly chunky edition. So the path needs to come around this way and then come into this space right now. So that's a lot of talking. That's my sort of whole thought process right now. We're going for Valkyria style raised plateau, Viking longhouse, etc. I need to make this happen, right? I'll see you in a minute. Oh, sneaky, sneaky, run behind the fence, and I love how this is turning out. Like, this is actually as I wanted it to be. Like, this Viking Longhouse, it's a Viking Longhouse. It's going to look the same regardless, but I think I'm starting to pull it away from Valkyria a little bit. I think it's starting to have its own little personality, and I've gone for a very different shape, so I think that kind of helps. Now, we do have a live play element. We're going to do that in a moment. Let me talk you through all the stuff that I've done in the meantime, because there's quite a bit to show you. We're going to start with the station, so it's actually coming together quite nicely. It needs all of its Viking details to come to life, right? I've got a pretty clear picture of what I want it to actually look like and how I want it to be, but for now this is it. But it was an absolute nightmare to pull together, because you're dealing with 2 meters width on this side and 4 meters on this side, so it's not symmetrical, and that kind of makes it feel a little bit weird, but I like it. It's gonna be all right once it's done. I promise. I keep telling myself that. And then the queue line itself, this is how I want it to be. I've copied across this queue line. Oh, I've actually put an extra fence in. I need to get rid of that fence. There we go. We'll get rid of that. Yeah, so I've copied across the fencing and stuff from elsewhere. It feels like this park uses this fencing quite a lot. Now, I don't want to overuse it, so I don't want to use it everywhere, but it definitely feels like this ride would have that fence. And I've also got this pillar that I've put in. So I've got these corners and stuff that I want to try and hide. I mean, this wall itself is just made up of the 3 stone pieces that are available in the game. But I want to use like these pillars here just to hide some of that like real rough work that you've got, because it's quite difficult to marry together the stones and stuff. And I'm not entirely sold on this being a solution, but I think it does its job. I think it does what it needs to do. I mean, if I just tidy this up, it's all right, isn't it? It's there. I don't know. Let's see how it all plays out. But this is how I wanted the queue line to be, and of course I've got space now to put stuff in. Now you'll also spot we have some custom supports. Now I am going for the $2.20 principle here, where it just needs to look okay from a distance, because if you go up close, it is proper imperfect. And I could go around and do custom supports for everything, right? But you definitely wouldn't get this episode in a week if I was going to do that. So I kind of go down the principle of it's there, they're represented, they do what they need to do, and it's just completely imperfect, and it's going to upset the purists regardless of what you do. So you guys can just have a day off, and it's not open for discussion. It is what it is. So there you go. I've put them in, and I kind of snookered myself a little bit with the layout as well. Like, these ones wouldn't be as well, these would be much more sticky outy. I don't even know what word I'm trying to use. I'm not even going to try use a different word. They would be more prominent than this, but it's fine. And then, of course, these are fine. The in-game ones are just fine. So, but what I have done down here is the whole maintenance area. I can't deal with these supports here. I've tried all sorts. You can see that I've put a path in and whatever. It's just not going to have it. Likewise down here as well. So we're just gonna have to squint and just pretend that they are removed. But I have put the iron girders in. These would be pretty hefty support mechanisms, you know, where you can't have the supports that come down. You have these iron girders and whatever. And then the maintenance area, it's got a transfer track. I don't know if you can see it through here. It has a cover, and it's got a piece of track that I've added in here. I just need to do some detailing and stuff on the transfer track. You know, it needs runners and it needs electric cables and all of that usual jazz. All of it fencing and whatever around here. But yeah, it's cool. So talking of fencing, I have put the fencing around here. I did want to use not the standard fencing, not the block fencing, the other fencing, the one that's got gaps in it. And that's because you've got this staff path that comes around this way, and then that comes into the maintenance area here, and then of course it comes around this way into a maintenance area. So I wanted to have the open lattice fencing because it just fits quite nicely. So then we come down here. We've got ourselves the food unit, so these are ready to go when the paths go in, and then of course we've got the photo unit that's coming up here, so we've got the screens and stuff ready. It just needs detailing up and the area all making sense. So let's talk this live play bit, because I have added in a games unit down here. So I have actually used, I don't remember, I'm really sorry who it is. I know it's a username that I can't pronounce, so I've written it down. I will tell you in the next update. But yeah, I've used that as a base, and then I've just added the Viking-y type stuff to it. The apples, by the way, from the market set, look, they're brilliant for balls and stuff, so it's great. So let's talk about this pathway that I want to do. There's a thing in here, right? So if I'm doing a pathway, this is kind of what I like to do. There's two ways. I'm either going to attach it to a path and draw around the area like this, and then call that done. But I don't know if we're going to struggle here when it comes to terrain changes and stuff. So if I put this to curve and I do draw, what I want is this pathway to actually come around this way a little bit. Now, the update has actually broken the ability to swap between straight and curved pathway. So I'm just going to do this for now, and then I'm going to come back and tidy it up, because then also what I want to do is to bring on the pathway this way. I do want it to be 8 meters wide. I don't want it to be curved, and I want it to be, there you go. So I'm going to bring the path around. Actually, I do want it curved from here, round this way. I do still want to leave a gap here big enough for me to swap this ride out if you guys tell me, because the first episode has only just gone out. So if I need to swap this out for the Enterprise, then I can. I've got enough room to do that in this space. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking in terms of the pathway. And then next week's episode will develop this area here. I think I do want to put something inside here. But I am thinking about some kind of flower bed here, right? So if I get my rock stuff up and get the... No, it's not rock, is it? It's stone stuff, and it's the off-grid one that I want, this one. So I do want to use the flower bed technique. So over in this part of the park, where is it? Over here, we're using like this flower technique, this flower bed technique, where we've got the raised rock and whatever. So I want to continue that through here, particularly as we need to create some kind of a barrier between the pathway that we've got here and the mecha roller. So what I'm thinking of is having like this bit along here, and of course I'm going to lower these down. So I'll place them down and then lower them down. That means then that we could have flower beds inside here. So if I grab my planter and, you know, is it planter? Yeah, let's get rid of the stone filter. Yeah, it's this one. And then I will put this up here like that. Now that starts to give me my my level for my planters. Actually, I'm probably going to want it to be a little bit low, but let me show you what I'm doing anyway, because I'm going to be able to tidy it up later. So once I've put down the actual main dirt bit, what I can then do is come back here, get my terrain brush, make it slightly smaller, and then, well, no, look, that's too aggressive. And then raise it up like that. So I've now got a raised area that's now going to act as a barrier between the mecha roller and the path, and I can put flowers and stuff inside here. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, this is also a similar process to what I'm going to do here. So if I just put in some of the dirt right now, and I can bring it up underneath this stone wall. So this stone wall, by the way, is the marble stone, and it's coloured grey, and I think it's brilliant. It just works absolutely perfectly. And I wanted to have this idea of waterfall effect, because this is quite a difference between this top here and this bottom here. So when I then put the dirt into this bit, so I'm always going to leave a little bit of a lip in here. But then I just bring this and go underneath the path. That actually works out quite nicely. There you go. So that now means that I've got this lip going on. So I can now put foliage and stuff. I don't quite know what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to use the rocks resized. There's a flat rock that works out quite nicely in this space, right? And I think it's going to be the tropical rock, because it's that grey. Where's that flat rock? Is it that one? Yeah, well, I think it's that one. Oh, let's just use that one. Let me show you. Resize it right down, and then it's going to fit in quite nicely here, and then it's going to mean that I can do some kind of a wall. But there is also a marble block that's available that I might use instead. So I'm going to have a play with that anyway and see what it brings. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to get this finished. I'll see you in a minute. Oh, real quickly before we do the big reveal, I actually wanted to do a little bit of a bonus live play bit where we talk about this tunnel. But before we do that, I also want to show you something else that I forgot to show you in the last one. If you're wanting to do this bit here, you know, where we're colouring around it and stuff, if you actually want to make it a little bit easier, you can do. You just take your sheer amount of path like this. You have your path tool with the merge setting on. You change the texture that you're wanting, and then you just draw a little bit of a whatever. That now creates, ignore this bit here, that now creates a separate thing for you to be able to go in and delete like that, right? So you could actually just do the opposite of the colouring around the outside, and that's where you actually colour the inside with a different technique or a different texture, and you then delete it, right? So good. Sorted. We're happy with that. So let me show you what I want to do here. I actually want to have a slightly higher intensity with the brush size here. So now I want to do the tunnel area like so. So that's nice and simple, right? That is probably not anything fundamental. But what I want to do is take the breeze block texture on the wall. So I'm going to turn off my stick to surface, align to surface, and now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start creating the wall along here, right? I'm then going to do the wood on the tunnel, so that's all good. But you then, let me just line that up a little bit better. There we go. Then what you do is you take your dirt that we had from before, so from the nature piece. Let's take this off. Let's find our dirt, and you know I always use the mythology modular because it actually looks more like dirt than the actual dirt does. And then you just put in your dirt like this, and then eventually what you will have is a really nice, clean, and flush way of doing the tunnel. So I just wanted to show you that before we do the big reveal, which is now. Oh my god, you guys, I am so excited to show you this one. Just as excited as these guys down here who are just waiting around because they just need to get into the area. I don't even know what they're doing. Bugs and stuff. But guys, I think this might go down as one of my Planet Coaster 2 triumphs. I am so chuffed with how this has turned out. And we have a name, Wicked. Well, it's supposed to be Wicker, but the R's fallen off and it's become Wicked. And I did tease this last week, by the way. On the posters, it says something Wicked, this way comes. And underneath, it does say Wooden. So, yeah, it was all there. All the clues and everything were there. But, guys, yes, I wanted to do the grand opening, like, actually on camera. So, if I double tap delete, we can get rid of these. There we go. They were just waiting to get into the staff room. And we can go ahead and get rid of the construction fences. And we can say that we are... Well, no, actually, we're not open yet because I haven't opened the ride. So, let's do it. Let's do it. Ta-da! We are open. By the way, I didn't tell you, I have lowered the friction on this to 0.5. I'm tempted to take it down even further to 0.4. Only because the GCIs are meant to be feeling like they're out of control. But yeah, they're definitely not. So, let's have a look, shall we? Because this is Wicked. And yeah, there's lots to talk about. Let's actually talk about the ride itself. So, on the left hill, I've just put the usual catwalk clutter. I did some research. You can put electric units and wood together. Look at Wickerman, for example. Look at Woden. Look at Invader. There are instances of it, but what you try and do is keep it away from the wooden structure where possible. I know I've said before, don't put the electric cupboards and stuff on, but no, you can. So this tunnel, we need to talk about this tunnel because I both love it and I hate it. I wanted it to be jank, as it turned out. Now, I did try a proper full-on GCI tunnel, you know, plank woods and darkness and stuff. It's quite difficult to do in Planet Coaster because you can't bend the pieces into the shape that you need. So I've ended up going for this janky kind of vibe. And actually, it's all, like, supported and stuff from underneath. So it's all realistic in that aspect. I kind of like it. And I kind of hate it. So it's fine. It stays. So, into the first drop, and all the foliage and stuff here has just made this come to life. I mean, this bit down here, now that all the flowers and the trees and stuff, because I hadn't put the trees in when I did this area because I wanted it to, you know, be this way. But now we've got the trees next to the log flume, it actually properly works. Then we've got the turnaround here, and then it comes down into like a bit of a cover. I've taken that inspiration from Woden. Is it Woden? You say Woden, don't you? Woden? Europa Park. Anyway, so you come into the turnaround, and then I had a last minute bit of inspiration when I was at the gym. So this tunnel doesn't need to be hidden. This is the tunnel, by the way. It's the planks on the side, it's the flat arch shapes, and it is dark inside. Then you've got all of the brick, well, it's breeze block, isn't it? And then there's a concrete floor. What I ended up doing, because I thought, actually, this is a park that's going to have spent money on this. This isn't a janky park that we've done in the past. So I've actually made the weird effigy or whatever it is. I'm not going for a Wickerman copy, nor am I going for a Colossus copy either. I just wanted to have this man thing in the tunnel with some steam, because that's what, you know, that's what you would do in that kind of theme. But then the actual tunnel itself is fairly janky. Like, as I said, you only really build what what your customers see, what your guests will see. And then I've also used the wood planks to make the covers as well. I am absolutely not going along the track and putting them in as the dividing, what are they called? The divided spine. That's just not going to happen. So I've done the covers here, and that's where you would have any kind of crossover, or mostly where you've got crossovers and stuff. And then, because I went for that weird face, I thought, why not just have that weird Viking portal? I don't know what this is supposed to do, what it's supposed to be about. I've got absolutely no idea, not a clue. But hey, it's all good. It's in there. Then we come into a turnaround, a rock turnaround, and I kind of wanted to hide the road at this point. I wanted to make the effort to hide the motorway from the ride itself, and likewise hide the ride from the motorway. That's partly the reason we've got the tunnel on the top and stuff. And then it comes, of course, into the final turn, and then into the brake run. So I did toy with having the maintenance area here, but as I said before, I don't want to encroach into this field just yet. Bit of don't die fencing. I kind of half wish I'd used the Viking fencing, you know, the pokey, spiky one here. But hey, it's fine. I mean, it does what it needs to do. This is still our land. It's just we haven't gone into it just yet. Then we've got the station. I love this plaza area, and I love how it's turned out, and it feels different enough from Valkyria for this to actually feel right. I am actually happy with this. Like, as I said before, and I've said it many times this episode, Viking longhouses will always look the same because that's by nature what they do. But actually this looks the part. I'm chuffed. And then this plaza area, I had all sorts of ideas. It was going to be overgrown, it was going to be lots of bushes, it was going to be lots of stuff. But why are they not going on the ride? Am I still charging for it? I am, yeah. Okay, let's change that. Yeah, sorry, as I was saying, I had these ideas of overgrowth and all sorts, but actually I decided to go for slightly more minimalist and with a bit of a better lighting package. So we've got a bit of lighting going on here, and actually I'm all right with that. I think that probably fits it better than the overgrown style, and then the trees and stuff just break it up nicely anyway. Down here I don't have a clue if these are the right orientation. I haven't followed the sun and stuff, but we've just got a compass: north, east, south, west. And I did originally have east and west the wrong way around, because I've done that ever since I've been at school. Never eat shredded wheat is the phrase that we use in the UK, and I always get it the wrong way around. But I've done like a bit of a path thing here, and I wanted it to feel like it was similar to the main entrance pathway, so it is just lots of triangles that have been then rotated and stuff, but it also needed to feel like a bit of a compass. So I'm happy with that. Then we've got Booty Raider. That's our game store, which I haven't opened yet, so we should. There we go. So yeah, I've made it functional by putting an information standard. We're definitely not using information stuff, right? We're not using FastPass and whatever. You're literally selling umbrellas and that's it. But I kind of wanted this unit to be functional. Then we've got ourselves. Sorry, I forgot to mention this when we were doing the compass. I'm so excited. We've got like a motif, you know, like a centerpiece and stuff in this area. So yeah, that needed that. Then we've got a picnic area here. I think in the future what I'm going to do when we do updates, because of course we're going to do smaller updates as episodes, we'll talk about that later, but I think there might actually be a food unit or something that would go in here rather than a picnic area, so maybe we do that in a future episode. There's enough space to put one in, but for now it's a picnic area. And then we've got the hot dog squad. So again, I haven't opened these yet, so we should. There we go, 1 and 2. No, come on, 2. There we go. Yeah, so this is nice. This is just a small food unit. I don't want it to be any more than this. It doesn't need to be any more than this. Just a lot of clutter and decor along the top here, and then you call that done. And then of course the ride photos, I've not opened these either. 1 and 2, there you go. So that's now gift shop, and they are now working as intended. And then we come to the actual Viking Longhouse itself. I mean, I'm chuffed with it. It was such a nightmare to pull together, and it doesn't look like it, right? It looks like it's a really simple building to pull together, but it's actually multiple constituent parts, multiple little pieces, and because it's not symmetrical, you can't just copy and paste. You have to do everything as is, but I like it. I like how it's turned out. Inside here, kept it really simple. I don't want to go over the top in here. We are going to have to forgive the clipping roofs. You just can't have the effect that I've gone for and have perfect roofing, unfortunately. So we do just have to ignore the fact that it's clipping. But no, you know, the station's got everything it needs. It's got its push points. It's got its baggage hold. It's got all of the usual stuff. And then the queue line looks good. Now we've actually got people in it. I'm digging it. I like this. Looks all right. Actually, I'm chuffed with it. I really am. Right, we can go ahead and, by the way, open this pathway as well, and you will see that the construction fences are up for next week. This is a small investment year, so guys, please don't expect something massive. But you know, I saw a comment on the first episode that said that this would be perfect space for a Eurofighter. This space is deceptively big. I actually agree with you. You probably could put a Eurofighter in here in the future. Watch this space. That's not what we're doing next week. I will talk about that in next week's episode. You'll have to come back for that. But as I said, it's a small investment year, and I want to nail off how a park would do a small investment. So there you go. This is it from the top. This is the Woodie from the top, and I love it. I am so here for it. Guys, thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode. I really do appreciate it. Come back next week for the small investment year. We're going to go for a ride. Have yourselves a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.